Welcome to True Crime Boss. I'm Jarrett Ferrantino, and tonight we're talking about the murder of Andy Probst, a retired police chief from the Bell Police Department who moved to Las Vegas, Nevada to live out his golden years and stayed fit as a bicyclist. He was mercilessly and needlessly murdered by two juveniles who were on a crime spree, stealing cars and running over people for fun. This entire incident was filmed, and if you're watching our video, you'll see a particular image that we've chosen to highlight. That's the vantage from the passenger's perspective of the vehicle that ran down Andy Probst. And these two individuals were encouraging one another. Hit him. Go for it. And when they hit him, they celebrated. And he rolled up onto the windshield off the car, and they filmed Andy Probst laying there, dead or dying, and kept going. These were two 17-year-old men. Boys. Juveniles. Folks, in this country, we're seeing a 30% plus increase in juvenile homicides. These are kids committing murder. What is happening in this country? As I sit here, my personal caseload, I have 3 juveniles facing murder charges. That is 3 too many. And across the country, it is an alarming trend. And what does that mean? Can a juvenile face a murder charge? You know, I've heard people, when you're a kid, people say, don't get in trouble after you're 18, or you can go to juvie before you're 18. What happens when a juvenile kills? What happens in our system? What's expected of our system? And what could we expect as the case and the prosecution and the murder of Andy Probst moves forward? Well, these two 17-year-olds, first and foremost, the driver of that vehicle was picked up that day on August 15th. He was charged with vehicular manslaughter type charges. Then the video dropped, and they saw this wasn't an accident. This was an intentional murder. The vehicle was a weapon, and it was encouraged by the individual in the passenger side. He was picked up several weeks later. He was wearing a mask, the passenger, and was identified when a school resource officer came in possession of the video from a student at their school. Folks, it is harrowing to see an accident or an incident like that play out, to see that it was done intentionally and encouraged and a joke even after it happened is heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, but we have to start asking and answering the questions of what is going on with the young people committing murder in this country. Now, why? You may say to yourself, how is the passenger charged in this case? He wasn't driving the car. Well, you can infer a conspiracy, folks. Here's how conspiracy to commit a particular crime works. When two people agree to commit a criminal act together, and they both do things in furtherance of the conspiracy. You have the driver who's driving, the videographer, for lack of a better word in this case, who's filming the incident, encouraging the driver, contributing to this thing happening, present, encouraging it. It happens. He's continuing to film it. That's part of the motive here. These guys think if we film these things, we could become big shots online. Who the hell knows who would ever even want to see something like this? So they are both culpable in the death of Andy Probst. The question becomes the fact that they're 17. How does that weigh in here? You may hear that juveniles can be charged as adults, and we see it all the time. How does that happen? Let me break that down for you, okay? First of all, to these two juveniles, who I say should be named. Their identity should not be protected, okay? You play adult games, you win adult prizes. And one of the prizes is you lose your anonymity, Okay, so these two juveniles have committed a crime which in the state of Nevada is a direct file crime, which means even if you're a juvenile over a certain age, because it's a murder, it gets directly filed in adult court. So here's question number one you may be asking. Is the death penalty on the table? Well, in the state of Nevada, a juvenile cannot be put to death. So as angry as that video may make you feel, their life does not hang or will not hang in the balance. That's one benefit they have as a result of their age. The thought process behind that is the death penalty is so critical and serious. The medical and expert testimony to date says a juvenile mind is not fully formed. Some people claim into their 20s, okay, which there are many different schools of thought. I certainly am of another mind in that regard, but that is the rationale as to why a juvenile actor charged with murder as an adult cannot be put to death. However, these individuals are facing adult charges. What now happens in this process? Their attorneys will file a decertification petition to get these individuals moved from adult court back down to juvenile court. And you can sit there and say, this is bullshit, there's no way. Fair enough. But you got to understand something. This is a process. And this is how the process plays out. We don't play on the whims of your emotion or what you think is bullshit. I'm telling you what's going to happen here. And what's going to happen is a psychiatrist is going to be hired by the defendants. A psychiatrist is going to meet with them. A psychiatrist is going to come in and testify, or a forensic psychologist is going to come in and testify under oath and say a couple of things to the court. Number one, these individuals may or may not suffer from some psychological or psychiatric condition that contributed to what happened here. They also may have been under the influence of some kind of a narcotic or alcohol that caused what they did here. There are other things that are going to be testified to by these psychiatrists who conduct these examinations. Number one, the major question that hovers over any determination as to whether or not juveniles go in adult court or get sent back down to juvenile court is, are these individuals amenable to rehabilitation afforded to them in the juvenile justice system? That's why people don't like lawyers. Here's the question. Can these guys be rehabilitated before their 21st birthday? I watched this video. No way in hell, as far as I'm concerned. However, they will have an expert that says, oh, yes, over the next 4 years, unnamed juvenile number one can participate in this program and by their 21st birthday should be fine to come out into society. The question to ask that individual is, doctor, can you guarantee that juvenile number one or juvenile number two will be rehabilitated by their 21st birthday? The answer undoubtedly is, I can't guarantee you that, Mr. Prosecutor. And then you look at the judge and say, you heard it, Judge. There's no guarantees. Okay? How the prosecution responds to that expert is we send our own forensic psychiatrist or psychologist in to evaluate these two individuals, who will review both the report that's been provided by the defense and opine on their own as to whether or not these individuals should stay in the adult system or be sent back to the juvenile justice system. And what are the factors, in addition to whether or not these people can be rehabbed in the juvenile justice system, that get considered? The nature of the crime gets considered. The heinous nature of what these young boys did is so bad that can be considered by the judge. Say, Judge, any judge looking at this is going to say, I don't care how old they are. This is so terrible. You know, they're over the age of 13. These guys are 17. They're almost 18. That certainly is going to be considered. The fact that they're quite close to their adult ages. You can look at the crime. You can look at the victim. You can look at the fact that Andy Probst was killed with no motivation other than some whim of these juveniles. All of those things are going to be considered. I look at this and I listen to what the passenger was saying to the driver and the fact that these guys were laughing. and I hear a series of intentional statements and a desire to do exactly what they did. You see, folks, that car has a gas pedal, but it also has a brake, and it also has a reverse gear. And the driver could have walked away from this thing, and the passenger could have shut the hell up, and he could have stopped it. But they didn't. They chose to go forward. They chose to move forward on the murder of Andy Probst. And our position here at True Crime Boss is those two juveniles played adult games and should remain in adult court. Absolutely. And we will continue to follow this case and bring the developments to you as they develop. Thank you.